Hey everyone, it's Mr. Irwin again. Ready for our next lesson. Um, Last time we talked about adding and subtracting values written in decimal form. We're going to continue with the decimal theme, but today we're going to focus solely on multiplying values written in decimal form. We're going to hop right into our first example. You'll see on the screen 21.6 times 5.7. If you could, pull out a sheet of paper, copy down this problem with me, and work through it as I go over it. Just like every calculation we've done by hand so far, we want to rewrite this problem in a fashion that's easier to work out by hand. In this case, it would be rewriting the problem vertically. So I'm going to start with the 21.6 times, and then the 5.7. Now, in the last lesson, when we were adding or subtracting numbers in decimal form, we made sure that place values and decimal points were lined up. That is unnecessary for multiplying decimals. You can just write this as a number justified to the right. You don't need to make sure your decimal points are lined up. In fact, we're going to totally ignore the decimal points until the very end of our calculation. So I'm going to take the 5.7 and just write it all the way to the right. And now we're ready to multiply. Multiplying works just like multiplying whole numbers. We're going to start with the digit all the way to the right, and we're going to multiply it times every digit in the number above it. So totally ignoring the decimal points, let's just do the multiplication starting with the 7. 7 times 6 gives me 42. We're going to write the 2 and carry the 4. Now I'm going to take my 7 and multiply it by 1. 7 times 1 is 7. Adding the 4 I carried is 11. I'm going to write the 1, carry the 1. And then the final multiplication with the 7 is 7 times 2, which is 14, plus 1 more gives me 15. I'm done with the 7. I like to erase or cross out what I carried so they're out of my way, and I'm ready to move to the next digit in multiplication. Remember from last week, in order to hop a place value in multiplication, we first have to add a 0. And I don't know why that came out blue. Let me undo that and select red. So we stay uniform. There we go. So adding the 0 allows me to jump over to this 5, and now we are ready to multiply the 5 times every digit above it. Starting with 5 times 6, which is 30. We're going to write the 0, carry the 3 to our next column. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 3 we carried is 8. And then finally, 5 times 2 is 10. Just like last week, it's now time to add these values together. 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 0 is 1. 5 plus 8 is 13. Write the 3 and carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 2. And 1 plus nothing is 1. Now, we're not quite done yet. Because we had a number that was written in decimal form, now it's time to go back and look at our decimal points. So if you'll notice, in 21.6, right here's my decimal point. And what we're trying to do is count how many digits are to the right of the decimal point. So in 21.6, there is one number, there is one digit to the right of 6. Looking at 5.7, here's my decimal point. How many digits are to the right of it? All I have is the 7, so there is one digit there. That gives me a total of two digits to the right of the decimal point in both of those factors. So because there are 2 digits to the right of the decimal point in the values that I multiplied together, I need 2 digits to be to the right of the decimal point in my answer. So I'm counting 1, 2 digits over, and that is where I'm going to place my decimal point between the 3 and the 1. So your final product with correct decimal placement is 123.12. Next example, 1.245 times 6.3. Please copy this problem down and work it out step by step with me. Again, we're going to start by rewriting this problem vertically. That's really sloppy. Let me start again. 1.245 times. Now remember, I said decimal points and place values for multiplication. They do not need to be lined up. So I'm going to write the 6.3 all the way over to the right. Let's totally ignore the decimal points for right now, perform our multiplication, and then worry about our decimal placement at the end. So right now, we're starting with the 3 with multiplication. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to write the 5, carry the 1. Now, 3 times 4 is 12, plus the 1 I carried is 13, writing the 3, carrying the 1. Next digit, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 gives me 7. And the final multiplication with this 3 all the way over to the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. That's it for the 3. I'm done with it. I'm going to cross it out. I'm also going to get rid of what I carried because I like to do it that way. And now we're ready to multiply by the 6. In order to jump over a place value to this 6, make sure you add your 0, and we're ready to multiply everything by 6, starting with 6 times 5, which is 30, writing the 0 and carrying the 3. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 3 more is 27, writing the 7 and carrying the 2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 more is 14, writing the 4, carrying the 1. And then finally, 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. All right, boys and girls, time to add now. 5 plus 0 is 5. 3 plus 0 is 3. 7 plus 7 is 14. I'm writing the 4 and carrying the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 4 is 8. And 7 plus nothing is 7. Multiplication is done, but we still need to make sure our decimal point is in the correct location. So let's go back to the two numbers we multiplied together and find the decimal point in the first one. Here is the decimal point in the 1.245. We're going to count how many digits are to the right of the decimal point. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 digits trailing the decimal point in my first number. The second value I multiplied with, 6.3. Here is the decimal point. I have 1 digit trailing the decimal point there. That gives me a total of 4 digits trailing the decimal point. So let's come back down to our product and count over 1, 2, 3, 4 digits, and that's where my decimal point should go. Final product we are looking for, 7.8435. All right, boys and girls, here's some try these for you. I want you to copy these problems down on a sheet of paper, pause the video, and perform the calculations on your own. Once you finish both problems, begin playing the video again to check your work to see how you did. All right, I hope you gave yourself enough time to complete both these problems. Let's go ahead and work them out together. Please check your work against mine as I roll through this. So the first problem, 9.5 times 4.6. Starting with multiplication by the 6, 6 times 5 is 30, writing the 0, carrying the 3. 6 times 9 is 54, plus 3 more is 57. I'm done with the 6. I'm done with that 3 I carried. To hop over a next place value, we're adding a 0, and now I'm ready to multiply by 4. 4 times 5 is 20. I write the 0 and carry the 2. 4 times 9, 36, plus 2 more is 38. Let's add these together. I get 0, 7, 13, carry the 1, 4. And now we need to worry about correct decimal placement. In the first number, I have 1 digit trailing the decimal point. In the second value, I have 1 more. So 1 and 1 gives me a total of 2. So I need to come over 1, 2 places to place my decimal point. Correct product for the first problem, 43.7. You could say 43.70. That means the same thing, but because that 0 has no value at the end, it's unnecessary to rewrite it. All right, let's try the second problem out. 45.3 times 14. Ignoring the decimal points and just doing our multiplication first. 4 times 3 is 12. I write the 2 and carry the 1. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 more is 21. I write the 1 and carry the 2. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 more is 18. Done with the 4, done with the stuff I carried. Let's hop over a place value by adding a 0, and now it's time to multiply by 1. 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 4 is 4. Adding them up, 2 plus 0 is 2. 1 plus 3 is 4. 8 plus 5 is 13. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 4 is 6. And now we need to check our decimal placement. In the 45.3, there's my decimal point. I have 1 digit trailing the decimal point there. And now take a look at this. We multiplied by 14. It was a whole number. I don't see a decimal point, but if you remember from our previous lesson, a whole number has an invisible decimal point at the very end. So here's my decimal point. Are there any digits after the decimal point in 14? No, there's nothing there. 0 digits trail the decimal point there. 1 and 0 gives me a total of 1. I need 1 digit trailing the decimal point in my final answer. So there's my 1 digit, the 2. I'm going to place my decimal point between the 4 and the 2 for a final product of 634.2. All right, guys, don't forget to complete your independent practice on multiplying numbers written in decimal form. Take a picture of your work and upload that assignment for submission. See you guys next time.